When will the agony in the oil patch finally come to an end? Do we just need to get used to oil trading in the 30s for the foreseeable future? The lower longer thesis, thanks to the enormous glut that's only being aggravated by Saudi Arabia's overpumping? Could we be headed to the 20s? Or is it possible the crude could come back sooner than we think? That there might be some light at the end of the crude tunnel? And what about natural gas, which has rebounded of late, albeit off insanely low levels? If you want to understand oil, you need to talk to an oil man. And that's why I am thrilled to have Boone Pickens, the oil magnate, financial, and philanthropist of extraordinaire, frankly, who runs BP Capital, here to us tonight, talk about the future of the energy business. Boone, welcome back to Mad Money.
Hey, Jim.
Boone, all we hear these days is talk of lower longer, that oil can go lower than we think and stay down longer. What do you think of that thesis?
Close to the bottom. I was just a year off. We'll be back up 70, 75 by the end of the year. If you go back and look at the long stretch we had in the 80s, we were 20% oversupplied. Today, the world's using about 95 million barrels a day, and we're oversupplied by 1 million barrels. So it's not going to take much to balance the market, and when you do, it'll start to move up pretty fast.
But were you surprised at all, sir, that this week when we heard about Iran and Saudi Arabia, the terrible relations, the Saudis cutting off relations, that oil rallied but then couldn't even keep any sort of gain?
No, let me tell you, that may be a real turning point, is the Saudi-Iranian situation. Usually in a commodity market like that, you can have an incident that marks the bottom. That could have happened on the Saudi-Iranian deal. The world, to me, is numb to war. We've had war for a long, long time now, and if you'd have had that happen 10 years ago, well, it would have shot the oil price up. Not so, but we're just 1 million oversupplied now.
Do you think, Boone, that it's reasonable to believe that in the United States we may lose that 1 million barrels in 2016, that maybe oil pumping is going to go down in the United States somewhat substantially in 2016?
Well, we peaked at about 9.7, and we're down to about 9.3 now. And I think this time, I'd say by the end of the year, that's a year from now, that you'll be down another 500,000 barrels, because you only have 524 rigs drilling for oil in the United States today, when you peaked at 1,609 barrels in 2004, 1,609 rigs in 2014.
Well, Boone, then that would tell me that as these stocks go down, we're creating some values, if only because some oil companies are very well capitalized, and this could be the year that they buy companies that go under.
Well, you're going to have more consolidation, no doubt about it. The banks have been patient, and that's good. They're giving it a chance to recover. Our twin line mutual fund, they bought the Permian core, is what they bought. They bought Pioneer, Concho, Diamondback, those companies that they have the best properties in West Texas.
Now, Pioneer did a very big equity offering, raised more capital just last night. Is that the kind of thing that our viewers should be thinking, you know what? These are decent levels for companies to be able to raise cash. Maybe we should go along and buy on some of these equity offerings.
Well, Pioneer's dilution was about 8%, and you can live with that. Scott Sheffield is a guy that he's been through these before. He's not a kid, and so he's getting himself in good shape. He's still drilling, and he's going to add to his reserve base and his production this year.
Now, it is true, and most people have been more bullish and didn't expect oil to get down here. Are you surprised, for instance, that the Saudis are still pumping so aggressively, that there hasn't been people who have blinked? Because I know that when we talked last year, it was unlikely that we would have thought that oil would have come down to $33 a barrel.
Well, I didn't think it'd go below 40, But the Saudis, they want credibility, and they have credibility. They said they would not cut, and they kept it above 10.3. I didn't believe they could do that. They did, and here we are. But it's hurting them. $500 million a day is about what it's costing the Saudis and the Russians.
Wow. Well, how about natural gas, Boone? I mean, at one point it traded below where almost every company could make money in this country. Has natural gas gotten undervalued? And have the natural gas pipeline companies, have they any interest for you?
The natural gas, it's unbelievable, the reserves of oil and gas that the United States has. We're the #1 producer on natural gas. Unbelievable that's the case, because over the history of drilling, over 5 million wells have been drilled, and over half of them drilled in the United States. You wouldn't believe we still had the reserves that we do have. And our industry has done a magnificent job of supplying oil and gas to the United States. And the natural gas, I don't know. And, I made a lot of money off natural gas, and I've lost a lot of money. And you look at the guys that have lost their jobs because of the price of natural gas. And one is Aubrey McLennan, Tom Ward, Boone Pickens. I lost my job too. Doug Miller. But natural gas is tough.
All right. Well, anyway, Boone, look, I always appreciate your candor. When you said that you didn't think you go below 40, I didn't think so either, frankly. And this is not that far from there, but I think that your knowledge is certainly more is outstanding than almost everyone else I speak to. I want to thank you so much for coming on to Mad Money.
Sure, Jim. Always enjoy being on with you.
Great to speak to you, sir. Thank you so much, and thank you for your philanthropic efforts. Thank you to Boone Pickens, founder, chairman, BP Capital. Didn't think it would go this low. Does think it's about to bottom. Stay with Mad Money.